All right, blessings, everyone, and welcome. You know what? I have missed being here. This is the first new episode for what I'm calling the new season, season two, with 30 Minutes with, and just glad to be back. Glad to be back. And I do have a wonderful guest to get us started with this season. She is someone that I guess you could say target population for ministry is those with um, uh, Alzheimer's and other types of dementias. And so I am very excited that we're going to be spending the next 30 minutes with Elisa Bosley. Elisa, welcome.
Thank you so much, Marcia. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you with us today. Well, you know what? Again, as I said, everyone, we only have 30 minutes to hear a little bit about what you do and what you're about. So let's just jump in. Now, for one, I know that with you, it seems that it was your father-in-law that developed dementia or, yeah, Alzheimer's, and that kind of got you interested with that population, ministry to that population. Now, were you already a chaplain at that time?
I was not. No, I just found that I really enjoyed hanging out with him, and he was probably ill for at least 10 years. More severely, of course, towards the end. He died in 2012. But it was after that I just started volunteering at a memory care community, the place where he had lived before he died. So just enjoyed those people, still enjoy those people, and the uniquenesses that come with that particular group.
Okay, yeah. And so then what led you to, going ahead and becoming a chaplain?
Yeah, it was so, I mean, obviously it was God's hand. the I was just volunteering. I was leading a tea service, like an afternoon tea service for the elders at this care home. And but I was really lucky because this particular care home had and it still has a really high value for spiritual care. And that's not common. I didn't know that at the time, that it's not common, but
Mm,
because this was the only care home I'd ever been in. But they had a really high value for spiritual care, and they ran a church service every Sunday for their residents and a Bible study for their residents. And I have decades of experience in worship leading and Bible study leading through churches and parachurch organizations. So I already had that ministry background, but it had never occurred to me, because I'd never seen it, that that could be combined into ministry specifically to people with dementias. And so as I watched at this particular care home, watched the church service and the Bible study, and saw how it affected people, I just I just thought, this is incredible. This is so awesome. And then when that um, activity director, he was the one who was also leading the church service, really dear guy, he moved on to another role in another county altogether. But by that time, the staff knew me really well, and they knew my background as a Christian, as kind of a worship leader in Bible study. So they asked me if I
mm,
would step into this role, and of course, I jumped at it. I loved it. And then it was after that that I got licensing through International Fellowship of Chaplains, just to
mm.
add a level of, accountability and legitimacy to that work. I was already doing it, but I thought, no, it's good. It's good for me to be part of a bigger entity as a chaplain. So, yeah, it was almost backwards the way the whole thing happened. But
Yes.
yeah,
Wow. But, such a God thing too.
oh, so much so. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And this is the thing that interests me and may interest others, that, these individuals can actually, seem to enjoy being in a worship service because, that was my question is since they do have Alzheimer's or other dementias, what about their attention span? I mean, are they really able to engage?
That is a great question. And I would say that's the biggest misconception, and probably why I would say most care homes kind of don't bother with spiritual care because they think, oh, they're not going to remember it, they can't access it. But the opposite is true. It is because there's such a high level of long-term memory associated for these elders, associated with going to church. This is a generation that went to church every Sunday without fail, right? It was Sunday, man, they went to church.
Yes.
And the old hymns and spirituals that they grew up singing and still have stored in their long-term memory. And in fact, it's super cool. I've said this in so many contexts, but research shows that the memory retention center of the brain is almost completely untouched by dementia throughout the course of the disease. Like
Mm,
that's the one. They can lose their language, they can lose the ability to talk, they can lose uh, all kinds of function, they can lose even movement and attention and everything else, but they retain memory of music. So I saw in these church services how when these old hymns would come on, people who looked like they were otherwise asleep would lift up their heads and start to sing, and
mm,
it was so moving to me. So the church services, for example, are about half singing. I mean, out of an hour long service, probably 30 minutes of it is
mm,
singing, but there's all these other forms that they still have stored in their long-term memory so that they can really easily access those, like saying the Lord's Prayer
mm.
or reciting Psalm 23 that many of them memorized when they were young, or even praying, right? So there's things that you can do, like when I say, let's pray, and I do this, right? I put my hands together, then they know, oh, I get that, right? And they'll do it too. Or the closing blessing, the Lord bless you and keep you, the Lord make his face to shine upon you. They all say it along with me. And those particular activities, because they're based in this long-term faith arena, have this really high emotional payoff for them, right? It brings comfort, it brings peace. They might also have, how to play bingo in their long-term memory, but it doesn't have the same payoff as a spiritual activity, right? There's other research that says, spiritual and religious activities are, almost the best if you can make those accessible to people because they have such a high emotional payoff. Whereas other activities, while they're all, other activities are all well and good, but don't have that same impact that even lasts. It's not that the people will necessarily remember anything about the service even an
Right.
hour later, but they will remember how they feel.
Mm.
It's beautiful, yeah. So it's very much worth doing. That's my big soapbox. Right? Yeah, this is worth doing. And please, the church, step up and do it for these dear
Yeah.
elders that are so often forgotten.
Yes. And in explaining that about music,
Oh,
that
yeah.
really tells me a lot. Because you mentioned about, I think, the retention memory of music that
Yeah.
doesn't go away. Because for about a year and a half, I worked as a memory care coordinator. And
Ah,
while I was there, one thing I decided to do as an activity is, every May, the first Thursday in May, is the National Day of Prayer. And I thought, well,
ah,
I'm going to have a National Day of Prayer service with my residents here that have dementia and
mhm.
Alzheimer's. And it just amazed me when, I selected like several, hymns. I would say, kind of patriotic hymns. Uh,
Sure.
and it just amazed me how they were able to join in. And I mean, I had like the lyrics in front of me for like when you go past like maybe the
Right.
first, main chorus or main lyric. I had them in front of me and they're just going on singing. I was like, What? And so
Isn't
it,
that awesome? I love that. And I learned that when I was back before doing the chaplain work, when I was just leading the tea service. I
mhm,
remember one day, because I'm a singer. So one day we were just having tea and I launched into, I think it was Surrey with the Fringe on Top from Oklahoma. And by golly, they started singing it. And I was looking around like, what is happening? I had no idea that they had that. That I learned obviously pretty quickly. The retention was just remarkable. And of course, the hymns, how much better to have those words of truth and
mhm,
comfort and God's presence with them than, than singing 5 foot 2 eyes of blue. That's fun to sing
mhm,
that.
mhm.
But the hymns just put together that incredible truth and beauty and comfort with the music. So it's even more powerful. Yeah, the music's awesome.
Yes. And as you said also, your ministry is to a population or a generation that they grew up attending church. I mean, that was their thing to do. And
Right.
so, whether you grew up, I think, Baptist or Lutheran or Methodist, whatever, those standard hymns were the standard hymns,
That's exactly
and
right.
yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, I'm going to say deeply rooted in them.
Yes.
And and even, the funny thing too reminded me this past weekend here, I'm in the Pittsburgh area, and this is, end of January. So we've had like this major snowstorm,
Oh,
which many
right.
parts of the country have. Um, but my supervisor, at my job, she was talking yesterday and saying how she had to say to her parents, you're not going to church this weekend. You're not going to church on Sunday. Like, just stay inside
And they're like,
because,
what? No, exactly.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, but
Such an
yeah.
important part of their identity, important part of their life rituals. Yeah.
Hmm. And so now I do have to ask, Elisa, now you're in the Colorado, state of Colorado, I believe. And so in terms of you maybe going to other locations or facilities, do you mainly, stay within, like the area where you live pretty much?
Right. At the moment, yes. So before COVID, I started at the place where my father-in-law had lived. And then just by word of mouth, other places found out about what I was doing. So before COVID, I was going to about 4 different places just in my general area.
Oh.
And then COVID hit, of course, and then I wasn't going anywhere. Nobody was going anywhere. So that, Marcia, is when the videos came to be a really important part of what I do. I had no intention of ever making videos. That was not on my screen. But I
Mhm.
thought, oh, I don't want them to be without a church service. So I literally just sat down and recorded my own church service sitting here at my little desk, just the same background you see pretty much. And then that just took on a life of its own because so many people across the country and world were looking for some kind of spiritual care and services that they could, you know, show via YouTube. And
Mhm.
so I just, started doing those. And so I'm doing those still to this day and more of them. And then now have added, Bible study discussion videos and, short devotionals I'm working on. And I just started, actually, they're going to be uploaded like today, some training videos because I've had a lot of people ask me, how can I do this? Right. I want to know how to do this. So
Mhm.
all that is a long answer to your question to say I'm still going to the one place that I started with way back 10 years ago. And now the rest of that ministry is this online version because yeah, I've found that the reach is really happening and important to a lot of people. So that's
Yes,
what but who knows where God will lead. Yeah.
that's it.
There's nothing to substitute for in person. I love the in person, and I really really encourage care homes to get a person in person rather than just rely on a video. But
Mhm.
if they have no other option, they can use my videos to figure out what to do or to show in a pinch. So
Yes.
yeah.
And you've again pretty much touched upon a answer to a question that I had,
Okay.
which was that, because you are there in Colorado, like if there are others in other states and cities, how can they maybe begin to do what you do. And you're saying you do
Right.
have training video. You already have them. You said that's what you're working on, the
I've
training.
got the first 3 for leading a Bible study, because that seems to be the thing that most people are interested in. How do I lead a Bible study for people in memory care? So that's going up online tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
All
I had
right.
a lot of people ask me about that. But the whole idea of my website, the Spiritual Eldercare website, is to make resources available for people who want to do this kind of service, right? To whether it's a church service or a Bible study or even just a hymn sing along. All
Mm,
those resources are free on my website, because when I started doing the work, I couldn't find any resources. They didn't exist for people with dementia, right? There definitely is a specific skill set with
mm,
that community. Now, my stuff works for elders of any kind, assisted living or independent living. People use it. But because it's geared for people that may have cognitive challenges, what I'm trying to do is empower other chaplains and volunteers and church people to go in and do this. They don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? They can just please use my stuff, make it your own, customize it however you like, but at least it gets you started, right? And I have more than a year's worth of Bible studies and worship services, and then I have all the hymns as well. I made my own hymn recordings pre-COVID, that are all free for download, and they're also on YouTube, of course. So yeah, it's that was my goal, is like to get people who have a heart for this ministry, who feel God is nudging them towards that, but oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. Well, here you go. Right?
yes.
At
Yes.
least look at this and see if God, you know, uses it to equip you to do this so important work, in person. There, like I said, there's no substitute for in person. And it's
Mm,
super fun. It's really, really fun.
yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And my question too, I was thinking, um, I was a chaplain for 5 years, and so a hospice chaplain, and so with
Mm,
that, of course, I was visiting patients in different environments. They may have been at home, some of them, some were in senior facilities, or more different types of communities such as that. And I just
mhm,
wondered for you. Um, I didn't really seem to have any issues with, approaching those with dementia and Alzheimer's. Um, but for you, suggestions maybe to a new chaplain or someone that's new to this type of ministry, how would you, suggestions on how they might approach that person to get some
mm.
type of connection going? Do you
Oh,
have any?
such a good question.
Mhm,
Yes, yes. And I do think, people tend to be very nervous about people with dementia in particular. Like, how do I even talk to them? I
mhm,
mean, the first thing is just to have a loving heart. I just, it's so obvious, but if you have that love and that feeling like, oh, maybe God is leading me, God will equip you. I mean, that's in the Bible. God will equip you for every good work. So, I mean, I hope my resources are part of that. But there's also a lot of training out there. I often recommend Teepa Snow. Teepa is TEEPASNOW.com. She is a luminary in person centered, dignified care for people with dementia. She's not specifically, faith based in any way, but she has astonishingly good training videos and tips and just a wealth of information. And I learned a lot from her over the years, just the way she approaches people. And she's very, you know, very specific. Like, look people in the eye, give them time, right, to process what you're saying. I always tell people the main thing you need to do is slow down.
mm,
You slow down the pace at which you talk. Like the pace we're talking right now would never work.
right.
Right? You have to slow down your talk. So the minute I walk in the door at a memory care residence, I slow down my speech, I slow down my movements, right? Everything gets slower because they need more time to process anything that's happening. Getting down on their level. So a lot of people in wheelchairs, I get, down on my knees so I can see them in the eye and I'm not sort of, hovering over them, talking at them, right? Um, yeah, it's not rocket science, really. I mean, you interact if you're slow and patient and make eye contact and treat them like the human beings that they are and not children.
Mhm.
Um, there's, obviously there, like I said, there's skills, and Teepa Snow is a great resource. There's tons of resources online for, dementia specific skills, how to de-escalate anything that becomes a conflict, how to, you know, engage. But it just takes some practice and some flexibility. When I tell people, if you're leading a Bible study and somebody just, sort of goes off the rails in terms of they want to talk about something else, well, maybe that's what the Spirit is doing. Maybe you should go to that place, right? And that's okay, right? So
Mm.
there's a lot of flexibility that's involved with that. But depending on whether you're interacting one on one or in a group, there's similar skills and then there's different skills. But the slowing down, the eye contact, the you know not talking to them like they're children, um, asking permission if you're gonna pray for them. I have had so many people. Never have I once had somebody say, no, don't pray for me, when I've offered to pray.
Mhm.
If they say, oh, I'm just, I'm really sad or I'm hurting or whatever, and I'm like, oh, can I pray for you right now? Never once has somebody said no, right?
Yes.
And then there's other things like, people often ask, uh, where are my parents? Where are my
Mhm.
parents?
Mhm.
Why can't I go home? And the important thing there, and this is, what is her name? Dementia by Day, I think, is the person, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name. Rachel, Dementia by Day. You can look it up.
Yes.
She has these wonderful tools for addressing, like I would say, her biggest point in helpfully dealing with somebody, communicating with somebody with dementia, is to embrace their reality. She says, look, what they're saying is true for them, is their reality. It's not our job to say, well, your mother died 40 years ago, right? Nope, that does not help. But, she encourages, when somebody says, where's my mother? She encourages asking, where do you think she is?
Mhm.
Because for that person, the mother might be, 40 years old and out shopping, you know? And if the person says, well, I think maybe she's at work, or I don't know, where could she be? Then you're in their reality as opposed to forcing them to come to our reality, right?
Yes.
That's a super, super helpful skill. I've used that countless times. You
Mhm.
know, what is their reality? What timeline are they on? You know, when if they think I'm their daughter, okay, they think I'm their daughter, right? Because
Mm.
their reality right then. I don't try to say, I don't try to correct them or, again, force them back into my reality. So there's all that to say, there's a lot of really good resources out there, but those are just a few that I really recommend.
Yes, yes, and yep, take Chiba Snow. She is an
Oh,
excellent, excellent person. Like you're saying, just has a wealth of information in regards to the dementia and Alzheimer's population. And I'm wondering, is it Rachel Wonderland?
yes,
Was the
that's
other
it. Thank
part?
you.
Okay, yes,
Rachel Wonderland. That's it. Thank you. I couldn't think of the name.
right. As
Yeah,
soon as you said
really good.
Rachel, I was
I
like, I
think
wonder if
I
it's
think
Rachel.
both of them are, yeah, both of them are back east, I think. I think Teepa
Yeah,
Snow's in North Carolina and Rachel is, where's she based? I can't remember.
she
Anyway.
used to be in Pittsburgh, actually.
Yeah, okay,
Uh-huh.
there you go. Well, no wonder you know her. Yeah. There's some great people out there doing really good work that's very, again, very dignified, helpful care, and tools to learn some of these skills for effectively engaging with people living with dementia. And then I just layer on the spiritual aspect of it.
Right, right. And with Teepa Snow, I got a excellent idea from watching her videos in terms of an activity for my residents when I was, again, um, a memory care coordinator,
Yeah.
and it was an afternoon of making. I said to him, "We're going to make the dessert for the evening," and so what it was is making these easy banana cream pies. Just needed like some banana pudding and then the graham
Right.
cracker crust. But it was just, again, so amazing seeing them, how excited they were whipping up that instant banana pudding, and then it's like, okay, now we're going to put this in the pie shells, and even the guys, they got involved too. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you raise a really good point, which is that engagement, right? It's so, so important for them to feel like they have purpose and meaning, and they're doing things that are meaningful, right? And that's, almost everything, yeah, really everything that I do and everything that I create is meant to be very engaging, right?
Yeah.
All my Bible studies, for example, are question-based Bible studies. They're not just teaching at the people. They're questions, like have a discussion, right? And the homilies I give, same thing. I ask questions during the homily that people, have a chance to answer. What are things that are beautiful to you? Who
Mhm.
was your best friend when you were young? How is God a friend to us? So engaging them, right? They love it. And
Mhm.
it's dignified, right? We would want the same, right? Treat
Exactly.
treat me like you want to be treated, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Well, Elisa, I have so enjoyed this conversation, this discussion. Thank you so much. I just wonder, for those individuals out there who maybe they're a caregiver for a
Yeah.
loved one with, Alzheimer's or dementia. Do you have maybe just some encouraging words for them in terms of, you know,
Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness. And I will say that there are wonderful, wonderful organizations out there as well. Many, many dedicated to the caregiver. Heart of the Caregiver is one that leaps to mind that I think is really good. I
mm,
would just say, wow, God is with you, caregivers. God has not forgotten you or your loved one. It is a very hard journey, but there is amazing amounts of blessing in it,
mm,
um, that is there, that you can access. I encourage people to get as much help as they possibly can, to be, supported by others, supported by people like you, Marcia, and people like me. What I do, get help. Don't try to do it alone. But God is alive in your loved one with dementia. That's what I really want people to know. God is alive and God is active, and they have purpose and meaning. And the work that you are doing as a caregiver is, it's God's own work, right? It's that, just what we said, loving someone sacrificially, loving someone at great cost. But again, don't do it alone. Don't do it alone. You're not alone, first of all, and then don't do it alone. Yeah.
yes, yes. Very good. And just before you go, because I know you have both a website and you have your own YouTube channel, and it's called,
Yes.
what is it, Spiritual Elder Care? What?
Yes. The website is spiritualeldercare.com. And then the
Mm,
YouTube is just youtube.com/spiritualeldercare.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. And
wonderful.
I'm available for people to ask questions. And yeah, anytime, would love to hear from anybody. I really enjoy interacting with people over this topic. So grateful for you asking for an interview, Marcia. Thank you.
Yes, excellent, excellent. Well, again, thanks so much for you being here, and I thank everyone who is watching this video today. Um, like I said, I'm glad to be back, and so until next time, be encouraged, be well, and I certainly hope you will be here for another 30 minutes with. All right, God bless you.